there is a new warning by your favorites, the World Health Organization.
Yeah, don't listen to them anymore.
Well, we don't know yet. Let's hear what they have to say.
Yeah. Oh, they might be right and they might be wrong, but we don't know because they lied.
Yeah.
So now we got an issue.
So this is Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, Director General at the World Health Assembly, and they had a meeting in Geneva because that's where all the big news comes out of. They have to meet in Geneva,
right?
And then and they let the world know. So this is a video, right, guys? You can play it.
Hold on a second. Geneva is like internationally. Geneva is like the world's Pueblo, Colorado. In the United States, if you ever needed to write away to the government to get a book on how to start a small business without paying taxes or something like that, it was always write to Pueblo, Colorado. Pueblo, Colorado is where was the address for all the governmental shit and information you could get when I was a kid. I don't know why Pueblo, Colorado was that place, but that's where you would go if you wanted to get the leaflets or the pamphlet about something, anything that the government could do for you. You could get that info from Pueblo, Colorado. And Geneva is the Pueblo, Colorado of the world.
Of Earth, yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well,
so here it is.
Yes, here it is.
We cannot kick this can down the road. If we do not make the changes that must be made, then who will? And if we do not make them now, and when? When the next pandemic comes knocking, and it will, we must be ready to answer decisively, collectively, and equitably. And for enhanced international cooperation, the Pandemic Accord, a generational commitment that we will not go back to the old cycle of panic and neglect that left our world vulnerable, but move forward with a shared commitment to meet shared threats with a shared response. That's why we say the Pandemic Accord is a generational agreement. A commitment from this generation is important because it's this generation that experiences how awful a small virus could be.
Yeah, so he also went on to state that the next pandemic would be even deadlier. He said the threat of another variant emerging that causes new surges of disease and death remains, and the threat of another pathogen emerging with even deadlier potential
I think he wants to do like a world sort of NATO approach to this thing.
Like to get everybody united.
Sorry, I don't
here.
fucking trust you. I do not trust these assholes at all. It's like, remember 10 minutes ago, the United States was like, why don't we have a truth ministry? Why doesn't the Biden administration should appoint some chick and then she'll be in charge of fake news? Oh, pardon me. Pardon me. You're the guys who the guys who corrupted Twitter and all the social networks. You guys with the FBI, you guys with the CIA, you guys calling everything fake news you disagreed with, you guys all lying about COVID. You're going to appoint some 30-year-old chick and she's going to be in charge of what's true. I'm dubious. Pardon me. Call me dubious. I'm not so sure you're going to make the right decision on this 29-year-old coos who likes to sing like Mary Poppins on the internet. Who's going to be in charge of what's hate speak and what's true and what's fake news? She's going to be doing the fact checking? Okay. I'm dubious.
How much of the world do you think is now dubious versus...
I now think that every large organization becomes corrupted at some point.
Well, of course. I mean, I know you think that's going to happen, but how? Like, do you think if this happens again, are people still going to be? Are there going to be a bigger portion of people questioning it, or are we all just going to go along with whatever we're told, like we did this last time?
Yeah, like you did, but not me.
The royal we.
Right. I think there'll be a percentage that is less involved, but I'm not hearing a lot of repentance and sorry. And I'm hearing a lot of defensive postures.
Or let's just bury it under the rug and let's move on.
We did what we knew at the time. We knew at the time. There's a lot of, we didn't know anything. No, there were people who knew a lot of stuff. You deplatformed them. That's not, we didn't know. That's, you didn't like what other people were saying. Just 7% of Americans have a great deal of trust and confidence in the media, and 27% have a fair amount. I no longer trust the media. Not that I just distrust them, sort of. I don't distrust the media just in general. I just don't trust them when they're trying to tell us what happened, because they've grafted a narrative upon everything, which is destroying their ability to report. So, and by the way, people talk about Hunter Biden's laptop and what the media did with that, and they talk about COVID and what the media did with that. How about Kyle Rittenhouse? This 16-year-old white kid with a gun shot 2 or 3 people trying to kill him, essentially. What'd the media do with that?
Right.
The media said he didn't know anyone who lived in Oshkosh or wherever he was going in Wisconsin. Like, he didn't know anybody except for his dad lived there. Do you think the media could suss that out? Like, where the guy's dad lived? You think
they should be able to.
You don't think they're able to figure out that his dad lived in Oshkosh?
It should make any normal person go, something's up here.
Yeah, and then what happened? By the way, the manifesto of the trans kid who shot up the school that's 2 months old. Where is it?
Still won't see it.
We don't get to see that one? Why don't we get to see that one? What if
is that the media or is that government?
That's government and media. Because
the media is booing them.
Yes, yeah. They buoy them. Here's what the media does. The government responds to what the media wants. And if the media is going to make a big thing about George Floyd, then the government gets the DOJ involved and reacts. So, the most horrific police shooting of all time is Mark Garagos' case. The guy was executed in the hall Daniel Shaver in Arizona. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mark keeps saying to me, poor, sweet, naive Mark Garagos. He keeps going, we hope we can get the DOJ involved with this. And I go,
poor sweet Mark.
I go, not going to happen. It's been 4 years, Mark. It's not happening. He's like, we think the DOJ. I go, they're not interested because he's white. You understand? They're not interested. They have a narrative. Hang a fucking noose on a NASCAR garage, which is not a noose, they'll be down the next day.
Yeah.
They're not interested. Yeah. And let me tell you who gets the DOJ interested. The news. The news is not interested, so the DOJ is not interested, and that's how we roll.
So the media is indirectly controlling
the
DOJ.
They will decide whether the government acts or not, and they're not interested, and so they're not acting, and that's a kind of whatever symbiotic relationship, tacit agreement, whatever you want to call it. That's the relationship. So CNN and New York Times and nobody gives a shit about Daniel Shaver being executed by cops because it doesn't fit a narrative. So they're not interested. So the DOJ is not being pressured to do anything, and they don't have to do anything. So that's where it works. Once in a while, it goes the other direction, like Hunter Biden's laptop, when the CIA and the FBI cover it up and then tell the news agencies who are just doing their bidding, there's nothing to see here. Then they dutifully report what the CIA and the FBI told them to say. But no, we're not going to get to the bottom of anything as long as there's this relationship.
Yeah.
I saw something funny on the news yesterday when Senator Tim Scott, the Republican African-American senator who's now running for president, when CBS News, local news, mentioned that, he announced his presidential bid, they made it a very, very clear point to say the only black Republican senator. Guess how many black Democrat senators there are? 2.
Wait, where's the sting for the BIN? Come on. All right, so let's figure out what the news outlets are up to. Kyle Rittenhouse His dad lives in Wisconsin, although according to the news, he knows no one who lives in Wisconsin. And then his mom drove him across the state line with an M16, which she didn't do because she was doing a shift at the hospital as a nurse. So the media can't even fucking figure out what the mom and the dad are doing? And we should listen to them about what?
Right.
Again? But it's not that they don't know what the mom and the dad are doing. They're lying because they're trying to create some sort of what they did with Daniel Shaver is ignore it because that's a white guy being executed by the cops. And then what they did with Kyle Rittenhouse is turn him into a white supremacist and his family as well. So, stupid or liar, they're lying at this point.
Well,
it's pretty, and it's the same with Hunter Biden's laptop. Like, they have the laptop. The FBI's had the laptop since 2019. You don't think you can figure out whether it's real or not? The FBI doesn't have the ability to suss this out when it's when they own it, when it's sitting at the headquarters. They know what they're doing, so they can't be listened to. But I wish I could listen to them. Just like you'd have a friend who lies all the time. You wish he didn't. You wish Ernie didn't lie all the time, but he lies all the time, and now we can't listen to Ernie.
Well,
That's what's going on.
Probably part of the reason why DeSantis is announcing his presidential candidacy on Twitter because he doesn't want to have anything to do with the media.
Yes, they've wrecked themselves, but so is the WHO.
Yeah. So is Twitter going to become the new media then, as far as?
I don't know.
Any sort of?
I think so.
Yeah, that's where
think
Tucker's going.
Elon
right?
knows what he's doing.
Yeah. All right. So a Delta passenger flying from Sarasota, Florida, back to her home in Portland. She went into anaphylaxis on a flight after the cabin crew served nuts to people near her. So this is the problem, man. This is why we don't get nuts anymore, because this actually happens. And
right.
You've been complaining about this for years. It actually happened. Her name's Sarah. So she filed a complaint with the Department of Transportation's Office of Aviation, saying that Delta failed to accommodate her disability and didn't respond when she experienced life-threatening symptoms. She had to use 2 EpiPens, and the plane did not make an emergency landing for her.
Well, here's the deal. If you have this kind of reaction to nuts, then you're not allowed to fly commercially.
Get on that PJ, Sarah.
It's on you. You have a situation. If I have an inner ear problem, back it up to Mark Garagos again. Mark Garagos had an eye problem for a while, couldn't fly. Had to take a tour bus, back and forth to New York. He had a problem. But we didn't all have to take the tour bus. Or if he had some sort of eye problem that said once he gets over 10,000 feet, there's too much pressure in his eye, we wouldn't keep the plane under 10,000 feet to accommodate him. If you have this serious an issue with nuts, then don't fly commercially.
Right. If just being, in the vicinity of nuts.
That's for you. That's because I care dearly about you.
Yeah.
Person, don't get on a commercial flight.
So this is what happened. So she gets on the flight, and the passengers aboard the plane were told that they are giving out snacks, including almonds. And so she reminds them that, hey, I have a crazy allergy. So they say, okay, would you like a buffer zone around you and that we won't serve almonds? Or do you just not want us to serve almonds at all?
Oh, could I do that with dogs? I had a dog right next to me the last time I flew. I flew to Oklahoma City. There's a dog there.
Right.
I could do a dog buffer zone.
No granddaughter announcement on that?
No.
Dog. So
no.
They said the almonds. So they said you can get a buffer zone, or do you just not want us to serve almonds at all? And she goes, that's what I want. I don't want you to serve almonds at all. And they served almonds. And so she noticed passengers around her were eating the almonds. So she went to the bathroom, hit the EpiPen, asked them to land the plane. They didn't, and she's very mad.
Asked them to land the plane. I would be much more sympathetic to this person if she wasn't from Portland, because now I don't trust her.
So that's a tell, right?
I don't trust anyone from. I don't trust chicks from Portland anymore.
Except our next guest.
Yes, except for our next guest. Oh, and she's good looking. Now I really don't trust her. She's good looking.
I'd land
she's
a
from
plane
Portland.
for her.
Yeah. We're and then land the plane. What? So she can get and she's under 30 or something. I don't know.
So so she wants Delta to be fined for disability discrimination. This is a disability.
Yes.
And Delta has responded with a statement saying, while we unfortunately cannot respond to this specific event, passenger safety is Delta's top priority.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
All right.
we'll see. But
all right, everyone's got to sue somebody. But here's what I'm saying to everybody. It's your disability. It's not our disability. Sorry, God doesn't like you as much as he likes me. You got something.
Yeah.
Now you have to fucking deal with it. And part of that is going to be not flying commercial because there may be nuts on a commercial flight. There you go.
So speaking of everybody's got
And by the way, did she give herself an EpiPen shot? I mean, did she go into a coma or anything? Like, what are we really talking about here?
You could do that.
Don't you think if there was white foam coming from her mouth and her eyes were rolled back that they would have made an emergency landing?
Yeah.
Don't you think she was
if there was
sitting in business bitching at somebody about landing?
There's real worry of death.
Her saying that they didn't even bother to make an emergency landing is like when you're driving your car and you almost hit somebody, but you stop and you see them and and they go, "Hey,
all right,
why didn't you land the plane?" Well, your EpiPen worked.
Yeah, that's what happened with Meghan Markle and the Prince the other day. They almost got hit for 2.5 hours driving through Manhattan. Almost. If you really think about it, all of driving is really
nearly catastrophic.
All of driving is almost being hit. If you think about it, like every time you stop on a freeway and there's a guy behind you, he may stop or he may not stop. And then at some point he stops 2 feet away from your back bumper. But that technically could
You're
almost be
getting hit the entire ride. Yeah.
That's all driving in traffic is you drive in LA, so however long your commute is, that's how long you've almost been hit.
Somebody almost hit me on the way in, but thankfully they stopped before
guy was driving right next to me.
Yeah.
And we're going 65 miles an hour.
Nearly catastrophic.
We're like 18 inches apart going 65. Combined speed 130. Oh. Right next to me.
Don't add all the cars, though. I mean, shit, combined speed thousands, hundreds of thousands of miles an hour on the freeway.
Yeah, and whenever you turn left, you wait for that last car to just go by and you turn right behind them. Like you almost hit them. It's real tight, man.
I didn't realize how many lives I've been endangering.
You
on the
shake
road.
hands with the devil every time you get in that Prius, son.